Hello, everyone. This is Greg Alexander, and welcome to the SBI Podcast. Our guest today is Jeff Harris, the Chief Business Development Officer for Millar, a medical device company. What makes today's guest incredibly unique among sales leaders is Jeff's background as a former Chief Learning Officer. I can't think of a better sales leader to speak on the topic of sales enablement. Hope you enjoy the show.
From SBI's Executive Briefing Center in Dallas, Texas, the most watched and listened to content in B2B sales and marketing, it's the SBI Podcast with your host, Greg Alexander.
Welcome to the SBI Podcast, a weekly show dedicated to helping you make your number by getting your peers to share with you how they are making theirs. Today, we're going to demonstrate how to drive revenue per sales head up and time to productivity for new sales hires down. So why this topic? Getting an increase in sales headcount is difficult. The expense cops expect all the current sales reps to be at quota before they agree to add any new heads. And when new salespeople are hired, there's little patience from the executive team members who want each to generate revenue as quickly as possible. The sales enablement function exists to onboard new sales hires and to drive revenue per head up. Neglect sales enablement and forego adding headcount in the future. If you haven't figured it out yet, my name's Greg Alexander. I'm the CEO of SBI, and I'm your host. And joining me in the studio, as always, is my co-host, Melissa Valdez, and she's here to point you to resources to advance you along the way of making your number. Melissa, welcome to the show again.
Thank you, Greg. Hope you're having a great day. Thank you to our listeners.
You excited and interested about this topic?
I'm very excited, and I'm happy to have an in-person guest down here in Dallas.
Yeah, very good.
Always a nice treat.
Yeah. All right, well, speaking of that in-person guest, helping Melissa and I today with our demonstration is an executive who knows a lot about this topic. His name is Jeff Harris, and Jeff is the Chief Business Development Officer for Millar, and Millar is a medical device company. So Jeff, welcome to the show, and please introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, so I'm the Chief Business Development Officer for Millar. Millar is a medical device company located in Houston, Texas. Been in business for over 47 years, and we focus on manufacturing precision microsensors for life science research all the way up to clinical, for literally from mouse to man. And our primary markets are from the life sciences to clinical globally. And we service various product lines from pressure volume catheters to implantable telemetry systems for animals. And then our latest pivot is towards OEM partnerships. And so I came on board Millar to help the company bring focus to developing a partnership journey and helping to extract the value of that. We've been doing this for about 47 years. That is kind of one of our main focuses, is taking our technology, our devices, and integrating it with other technology from other medical device companies. And it helps to save time, decrease risk, and leverage our expertise in this area.
All right, very good. All right, so we're going to jump into the questions. You got the topic, right? We're focusing on sales enablement and specifically how to onboard new hires and get revenue per head up. So let me just start with a basic question, and I would like you to answer the question not only in your role today, but in kind of the totality of your career. So how do you onboard new sales hires?
That's a great question. So how I prefer to do it is, one, I like to indoctrinate new sales hires into the culture of the company immediately. And so I'd like to have, a welcome from the CEO, immerse them into our core values, our principles, what behaviors are expected with those values, get them do introductions around the company, kind of a walk and talk, read, get to know everybody, get to know the team, go through the history of the company. And also give them an overview of our current markets, our strategy, things like that. I like to sit down with new hires myself and go through the corporate strategy of the company, complete transparency, what it is we're trying to achieve, and their piece of the pie, how they're going to fit in.
Now, you started with culture, sorry to interrupt you. Mm-hmm. I wanted to interrupt you because I don't get that answer a lot, and I think it's a great answer. We're in a world today where new salespeople get hired and the CFO wants them generating revenue as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. So somebody like that, potentially even a CEO, would say, hey, don't waste time on things like the corporate strategy or the culture. get these people on the phones right away, get them out seeing customers right away, and get them selling right away. But you want to start with the strategy of the company. You want to start with the culture of the company, your mission, your vision, your values. Why do you personally feel that's important?
I think alignment from the top down across the organization is crucial. If you don't have alignment with everybody, we're going to be pulling in different directions. And to me, as the saying goes, culture eats strategy for breakfast. And personally, I would like to see my strategy thrive and not merely go into survival mode. It's like how we behave. We behave our company into success, or we behave it into a failure. And that starts at the top all the way to the bottom. So we all have to be in sync and behaving in the same ways and know what is expected of everybody and know where we're trying to get to.
Yep. Okay, so I start there and I get all of that good foundational stuff. So continuing on the onboarding program there, I'm assuming that you start strategic and eventually you get to tactics. So tell me a little bit more about the sequencing of the onboarding program.
Yeah, so sequencing for sales, I like to start off with kind of building their toolkit, their tool belt. And that starts off with learning the ins and out of the CRM system. And so, for instance, we use Salesforce, and so coming on board, typically a sales rep, they may or may not have experience, and so a lot of that is online self-study to give a general awareness of, everything you need to understand about Salesforce. And then once we get through that, it's working with the sales manager to clarify what is expected of using this, how we use this, aligning them with the sales process, aligning them with the proper metrics, how to formulate a quote, how to use activities to track your lead measures, and then looking at your specific lag measures. Salesforce is just a tool to help you be more productive. It's not going to make you more productive on its own. And so to me, it's like learning how to use that tool. So getting them aligned with Salesforce. Salesforce is also the companies I've worked for. It's the main way we communicate via chatter. And so indoctrinating them into that, clarifying what is expected is really key. And data quality is one of the most important aspects of using any type of CRM. Your data is only as good as the quality of it. And so clarifying those expectations up front is crucial.
Yep. One of the things I love about my job is when people come to be on the show and they're live on the studio set, the night before we get a chance to go have dinner. And last night you and I had a chance to break bread, so to speak, and I learned a lot about you. And what I learned about you that was very attractive is your passion around professional skills development. And you invest a tremendous amount in your own professional skills development, and you're passionate in encouraging others to do so as well. So related to today's topic of onboarding salespeople, you talked about the foundational elements, culture, strategy, mission, vision, values. Then you got into some tactical stuff like indoctrinating into the CRM, data quality, communicating using chatter, et cetera, which are all great stuff. When does the professional skills development enter into the mix?
That's a great question. So I would like to get the sales team, and that's really the next step, is really get into the sales training, the sales methodologies. Now, people come in with, maybe they have experience, maybe they don't. And so what we're going to do is use a blended learning approach of classroom, a lot of coaching, a lot of role plays. None of us really like to do role plays because how does it make us feel? Uncomfortable. Yeah. But we have to be comfortable being uncomfortable in order to grow, and that's where we really grow. And so I would get them going on the sales methodologies really, really quickly out of the gate within the first week into the next week. It's not something you learn in a day. It's kind of like you go to a training event. If you go to the gym, say a bodybuilder goes to the gym, you go once a year. Does that make you a bodybuilder?
No.
No. You attend a sales training event. Does that make you an expert in consultative selling processes or strategic selling? No. These are things that we have to intentionally do. And so that's where a training program comes into play, where because we ultimately want to measure the success of that training program on various levels. And we want to see that there's an actual behavior change going on. And so indoctrinating and just, first of all, reading about it, taking some classes, doing some role plays, but being intentional to kind of spread things out so they can absorb this. And then letting them know, clarifying that as we go through this process of learning these sales methodologies and so forth for our professional development, this is how we're going to be coached along the way. It's clarifying those specific learning objectives. What is it that how are you supposed to perform after you attend this? To what degree, under what circumstances, and what level of proficiency? And so I think one of the things with any learning program is you have to start off with, what are the objectives here? You know, what is it that you have to be able to demonstrate to give me feedback? And I always look at it, there's these different levels of measuring training. We start off with, well, what's the overall satisfaction and reaction? Was the training relevant? Would you recommend this training to a colleague? You know, were the learning objectives stated properly? Did the program achieve its learning objectives? Do you feel like you've learned anything? Things of that nature. And that's very easy to do with possibly a survey, asking questions. Personally, I like to, if it's an online program, I like to integrate that into the CRM, so having automatic surveys in there where we can get the qualitative feedback, because I'm all about constant, never-ending improvement. I want to make sure that any type of sales training that we push out to our teams, that we're getting that feedback, that we can make it better, that it's not, hey, this was terrible. If it was terrible, how can we make it better? Yeah. Give us that feedback. And then next, it's like, was there any learning that actually taken place? What I mean by that, was there a transfer of knowledge and skills taking place? And so when it comes to sales training, we can demonstrate those, you know, by doing presentations, doing role plays, things like that, you know, going through question strategies. What I like to do is sales scenarios. I like to integrate real life sales scenarios before we ever see a customer, you know, sitting down, listening to other sales reps on a sales call. I believe in, like, bringing a new sales rep on board, it's a minimum of 3 coaching calls that you're going to do, coaching ride-alongs that you're going to do with your sales manager. The first one, you just observe. You watch. This is how it's done. If it's not with a sales manager, it's a senior sales rep, kind of what I refer to as a sales warrior, somebody who is proven themselves as a master.
I'm the new hire, and so I'm traveling with a rep or a manager, and all I'm doing right now is observing.
You observe on the first, I wanted you to observe on the first one, because I want you to look at best practices for planning travel, for the pre-call. What's the purpose of this call? Why are we going to see this person? What are we going to get out of it? You know, watch how we interact and build rapport, and we use our question strategies, and we sit back comfortably and explore the situation, the needs, the implications, things like that. You know, before we get into presentation of presenting, you know, maybe exploring options with the customer. And so that first one is quick. It's just to go out, preferably somewhere local, you know, go out, meet some customers, observe. The next one is kind of it's a tag team event I look at. And before you go in, you know, you determine the roles you're going to play, how to hand off the conversation back to the sales manager. It's kind of like having your lifeline there. But in the meantime, you have role-played, done scenarios.
So who's in the lead on that one, the new hire or the pro?
The new hire will take the lead, but the sales manager is there to help and coach, provide guidance. And then the third one is the sales rep does all of the training themselves, or they do the entire trip themselves. And so they do all of the planning. They lead all the customer visit. The sales manager is there to strictly observe only, and then provide that immediate coaching feedback afterwards. Because to me, it's kind of like sports. You know, you play football. Where's the coach? Right there on the side of the field. Player runs off. They're going to feedback right then, and the sales manager has to be there to do that. Coaching is the fastest way to develop anyone, as we know.
So that's a great example, very practical thing that our audience members can go do. You know, 3 live selling situations, but each one serves a very different purpose in terms of what the learning objective is. So that's a great answer. One more question for you in this segment. So sometimes people stand up very formal sales academies. So there's kind of, you know, following the educational framework, there's a 101, 201, 301. And to get through the onboarding program, you know, you've got to get some type of certification that comes out of the academy that says, I'm ready, you know, to represent my company and sell my product to the customers.
Yep.
Sometimes people don't do that. Where do you come out on this? Is that a good idea, a bad idea? I mean, how formal should these things be?
I think it's an excellent idea. I have had experience doing that at a former company, and to me, you know, it's kind of like, the way I looked at it is like, okay, well, let's look at a rep who, you know, is just doing a phenomenal job, an A player. And we look at this, it's kind of like looking at a puzzle. It's like, okay, well, let's take this apart. Let's strip out all the things, all of these kind of tools in this toolkit that help make this person who they are. What is it that we have to learn? And to me, it's knowing what that puzzle is, we can help people to get there as quickly as possible. And a sales training academy, I think, just provides a more formal, professional approach. You know, it gives you a clear line of sight to being successful. And whenever you have those in place, there's a lot of intangible benefits as well, such as, employee satisfaction. And these are tools that, people can use, they're going to use further on in their careers. And there's the common saying, it's like, what if we train these people and leave? But what if we don't and they stay? And to me, when it comes to training, investing in training and development, at a former role when I was chief learning officer, I didn't have much of a budget, shoestring budget, and it was myself for a bit, and then eventually got some more folks to help me. But you got to do what you can do. And you don't wait around. It's like you got to develop and get things going. But the biggest thing is building those partnerships with the sales managers, the general managers, the marketing. And to me, a sales training academy is not only for sales. There's also should be parts of that are unique for marketing as well. So I like to be able to customize the programs because sales and marketing, they have to be aligned, as you know, the whole company does. And so they need to know the products. They need to know the sales process, the sales methodologies that we're using. They got to understand the customer journey as well, and how our sales team is going in the battle with the tactics that they're using. So to me, it's like there's a much more simplified version, but it's to gain that awareness and gain that knowledge of how we're going to battle together. And then it goes along too with technical support, but maybe taking a deeper dive into if it's a highly technical product, how to support that thing. So I believe sales training academies and getting that certificate at the end and making a big deal out of it. Things like Chatter, you can promote those things that congratulations, you've made it through this program. And to me, a sales training academy, you have that curriculum up front. And what I like to do is just hand that over to the training department, sales enablement department, working hand in hand with your sales managers so that you can push that through so that they see that they support it. Because the last thing you want to do is develop some program in a silo, and it doesn't happen overnight. And then some sales manager says, yeah, we're not going to do that. You got to take them along for the ride. It's part of the needs assessment, and help them understand why this is so helpful. How is this going to help you to hit your number? Because when I look at these training programs, the thing I'm thinking about is, all right, break-even sales. Here's day one. What's it going to take to get past that point? Because we're not here just to cover our own expenses. We're here to add to the top and the bottom line. How are we going to maximize efficiency to do that?
Okay. Melissa, did you keep up with all that?
That was just incredible. I have
Just
so many
a walking
thoughts
encyclopedia.
swirling around. Absolutely. No, it definitely speaks to your culture to have something like a sales academy and to be able to celebrate those reps and MIMs. Certainly it kind of keeps them motivated for sure.
I was supposed to ask you at the start on how the audience might follow along, and I forgot to do that, so I'm doing that now. So how does the audience follow along to today's show?
So fortunately, audience, you can rewind this if you want to start all over again. You can follow along in the sales enablement section of our How to Make Your Number in 2018 workbook. It's page 407. And how do we get this fabulous workbook? Well, we go to sbi.tips/2018 workbook.
Right. And then for those that want to earn extra credit, they now can take the online interactive benchmarking tool called the Revenue Growth Diagnostic, which we have now affectionately called Weight Watchers for Sales.
Such a cool tool. You guys have to go out there and check it out.
and what does somebody get by using this new tool?
So they'll get a roadmap on how to make their number. I'm sure a lot of you are in the planning process right now, wondering how you're going to make your number. This is a perfect tool for you. It's an online web-based assessment, and it basically allows you to benchmark your strategy, your go-to-market strategy against emerging best practices.
Right. So that term, sometimes people aren't familiar with our terminology. So what is an emerging best practice and how is it different than a best practice?
I forget about that because we're all about emerging best practices here. So a best practice is something that you share with your peers, you talk about what they're doing, you share what you're doing, everybody's doing it kind of mentality there. An emerging best practice is on the cutting edge of what you should be doing. So definitely take 10, 15 minutes, spend some time with this tool, and you'll get a customized roadmap, and it's very exciting. It's very exciting.
So comparing yourself to emerging best practices is a fun exercise, and the fact it only takes 10 to 15 minutes makes it even more enjoyable. How does somebody get it?
So again, you will go to sbi.tips/2018 workbook, and you will see the tool there. There's various sections, and you can select your section. I encourage everyone to share it with the leaders of each section as well. Their marketing leaders, pricing, products, corporate strategy.
Have you used it yet?
I have used it.
How'd you do?
Got some work to do. Yeah.
That's the
Definitely
idea.
has some gaps. Yeah. It's great.
Yeah.
Yep. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's jump back into the questions. And we're here with Jeff, and we're talking about sales enablement, specifically onboarding new sales hires and getting revenue per sales head up and shrinking the time to productivity. So in the first section, we kind of defined your onboarding program. We talked about the Sales Academy. We talked about professional skills development. I'm going to get a little bit more tactical in this section, okay? So I wanted to ask you about training to use cases in battle cards. So what's your opinion on that? And have you done it before? What works, what doesn't work?
Yeah, I think it's highly useful. The better we can equip our sales team, again, more tools for the toolkit, the better. The challenge also comes in any organization is who's going to develop that content. So when I look at battle cards and question strategies and sales presentation decks, citations, marketing brochures and all of that, what I've liked to do in the past and what I'm working on here at this organization is just putting that into an online platform. And so another part of the Sales Training Academy is obviously your product knowledge, your product skills. And so that comes in along. And depending on your product portfolio, it might be pretty straightforward. Got a couple of products, or it could be very vast. And I've worked with both of those where it takes time, and that product application training is going to expand out over a certain period of time. But it's important, I think, with any type of training to clarify how is that going to be delivered? Is it going to be online? Is it going to be classroom? Is it going to be kind of role play? And how long can you expect that training is going to be? What I find for online training of these types of things is keep it short. Just-in-time training, 10, 15 minutes. What e-learning allows you to do is put videos together, things like that. For case studies, that's something I've always liked to integrate into the training. So, sending in a real live quote request from a sales manager to the new sales rep, and, with, hey, send me a quote on this, and that's all they get. And there's a whole scenario that plays out after that. How do you call? How do they follow up with the customer? How do they lead down and assess what their needs are and determine how to make this sale properly? Meanwhile, the sales manager, they have kind of like a scoring mechanism where they're kind of grading them along the way, walk them through it. But also doing that online, because you can go through product and application type of things and then ask those questions in there and just have somebody write, what would you do in this particular scenario? And I find that is very effective, because then those answers go right to the sales manager, and we sit down, and that's a time for coaching, mentoring, to help raise their kind of sales lid to make them better. So I find it really, really important.
Yeah. So let's try to apply this to what I would call sales readiness. And sales readiness is a version of sales enablement, but it's specific to a product launch. So that a product is coming out at some point in the future, and the minute it becomes available for sale, you want the sales team to be fully capable of selling it, right? That's what the term readiness means. So, this is maybe a more precise application of sales enablement. How far in advance should somebody get the sales team ready to sell the new product?
How far in advance? I think it depends on how complicated the product is and the markets you're going to serve. In my past experiences with this, and of course working on new product launches for my current company right now, we want to get this team up and trained as quickly as possible. So some of the things that we want to focus on, obviously, is the product knowledge, the application knowledge, getting these guys upskilled. We want to develop the question strategies, but I want to facilitate the sales team developing what those question strategies are going to be to help develop the content themselves. That way, I'm not just spoon feeding it to them, because how do you learn? You learn by doing.
But this is the challenge, though, and I did a poor job asking that question. If you train the sales team on the new product too early, they stop selling the current product, and you see a dip in sales results.
That's a good point.
And if you train the sales team on the new product that's soon to be released, and the engineering team misses the release date, then you've wasted all of this effort, right? So it's a really tricky thing to figure out.
That is true. Yep, and that's where the alignment comes back into play, in the communication between the departments. That you have to plan that out accordingly and make sure, and you're going to have to adjust. If the product launch date gets pushed, then obviously that's going to be an issue.
Yeah. So I think roughly 3 months in advance is probably a good idea. And what I mean by that is that's when you're implementing the sales training program. The sales enablement team working with product marketing and product management, they're probably preparing all the materials well in advance. because they're working directly with development saying, okay, so why did we build this? Who's going to buy it? What problem does it solve? Why does it solve that problem better than the available alternatives?
Exactly.
Et cetera, et cetera. And then 90 days before release, because at that point in time, you're probably pretty sure that it's coming out.
Should be pretty sure.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So in your experience in launching new products and getting the sales team ready for that, is there resistance from the sales team, or are they excited about the new product?
My experience is typically the sales team is excited about any new product.
Mm-hmm.
I have a sales team now who is very excited about the potential of a new product. It has been pushed back a bit, so that does challenge the momentum of moving things forward because they're patiently waiting for things. But in the past, yeah, my experience with new products, product launches, is the sales team gets excited, and there has to be some buzz around that as well. You know, from marketing internally, and so we market to the customers, but we got to market internally as well, and help establish what you had said, the why. And I like to go through, well, who are the markets, who are the ideal customers? Let's go through the sales process, what this is going to look like. Let's go through the customer journey. What pain point are we solving in the market with this product? What are the features, and how do we leak those features to the benefits that they're going to provide, which is saving time, decreasing costs, or improving quality? Everything kind of goes back to those three things most of the time.
Yep. So when we were talking earlier about certification, it was in the context of certifying a new salesperson to the point where they're ready to go sell and represent the company. As it relates to certification around a new product, do you believe a certification program? So let's say I'm a rep, new product's coming out, you're my boss, you're the sales manager, and you as a sales manager are asking yourself the question, should I let Greg sell this product or not? Because it's an exciting new product. There's X amount of accounts to go take it to. And if I go take it to those accounts and I botch the sales campaign, I just kind of blew our opportunity. So as a sales manager, you want to make sure that I'm ready to sell this new product. So how do you feel about certification tied to a new product release?
I think that's a good idea. I think it helps to improve the alignment and also secure your future success as a sales team. And it comes back to what I think are what are the specific learning objectives we're trying to achieve. And it may not be sitting there taking a test. It may be just demonstrating your skill set. And so coming in, you know, and doing a presentation, doing a sales scenario around this product, doing kind of your elevator pitch, your capability statements, you know, linking the features and benefits and things like that to show your expertise. And then also being able to handle objections. You know, who are the competitors that we might be up against? What is your knowledge against them? You know, and kind of presenting different sales scenarios to them, you know, from a customer point of view. And that way you can see that their confidence is there, you know, because it's all about building the confidence in yourself and your team. And our confidence, you know, determines our attitude and how we behave. And so belief drives behavior. If we're confident in what we're doing, we're going to go out and we're going to crush it. If we're not confident about a certain product, we're going to pull that other product out of our toolkit or out of our portfolio probably and try to push that, because that's where do we fall? We fall in our comfort zone a lot of times. So we want to get that sales team up and confident and certified, I believe, on that new product as quickly as we can.
Yeah, very good. All right, this is a good spot for us to take another break. Melissa, there's people in the audience right now that are saying, I wish I was as capable as Jeff. I want to implement sales enablement, sales readiness, onboarding, a sales academy, certification, but holy cow, that's a lot. How do I get started?
It is a lot, and sometimes the toughest step is just taking the action to move forward with that. But we can help you. We have our experts on hand to conduct an interactive workshop with you, if that's something you're looking to do. If you want to learn more about the content of these workshops, you will go to sbi.tips/workbook. My favorite link. You keep mentioning it, right? It's the official workbook of the studio here in Dallas, Texas. So our team of experts can help you set up your sales enablement function and many other topics that you wish to explore.
Yeah, and just some more color on that. The way that it works is, my advice for those that are listening or watching would be, go to that page, sbi.tips/2018 workbook. You're going to have three options. You can take the interactive tool, which would allow you to benchmark yourself against these emerging best practices. You can download the Kindle version of this workbook and read it like a book. Or if you're a little old school and you want a collector's edition and have the 3-ring binder on your shelf, you can go to Amazon and purchase a copy of it. My recommendation would be to use the tool first, And what will come out of that tool is the things you're doing well, the things that maybe you're not doing so well. Those things that you're not doing so well, ask yourself the question, can I fix these things on my own? Or would I benefit by having somebody assist me with these things? If you say, I'd like somebody to assist me with these things, then you would schedule some time with one of our experts. Ideally, but not exclusively, you'd come to Dallas, you'd sit in an all-day workshop with some of our experts who would solve some of these challenges for you. If that doesn't work because you're too busy, then we could come to you at your place of business as well and go through the same exercise. The benefit of doing here in Dallas is that we can put a lot of subject matter experts in the room at one time. We like to say we can get 3 months of work done in a day or two. So that's the benefit of doing that. If we come see you at your place of business, sometimes we're not able to put all the experts together on that trip. So something to think about, but that's the way that I would advise you to use this brand new 2018 workbook. All right, we got one more segment. I got 3 more questions for you, so let's jump back into it. So earlier you talked about blended learning. And for somebody like yourself, that's an easy concept. You've been using it for a long time. But I think it's overlooked at times, kind of what our learning delivery mechanism is. Mm-hmm. So for the audience, could you describe blended learning and maybe have a conversation that's even broader than that to discuss learning delivery as a concept?
Yeah, sure. So when it comes to blended learning, I've always fallen back on this saying that I hear and I forget, I see it and I remember, I do it and I understand. And that's been the concept ever since I've done any type of training with anybody. My experience as a sales rep when I first came on board as an organization was I sat down and I had one box with a phone, another box with a computer, and I was told, go forth and conquer. And that was literally my sales training program. It's like, well, there's got to be a better way. I stayed with the organization and eventually moved up to the ranks and was able to take charge of that function and change the way all of that works. So when it comes to blended learning, you got a lot of different options. You can do classroom learning. Facilitation, I find, is very useful because it's more about asking questions and helping people to kind of arrive at the puzzle piece themselves. Coaching is one of the most effective forms of learning and developing anybody. Of course, we got to look at coaching the gap. I always look at it as, you know, the answer is always within the individual. They're just not aware of it yet. And so we got to ask the right questions, but it comes to a point where you can see there's a gap. And so then we ask, well, hey, can I offer my input here? Fill that in. I find with online learning is another key tool. It's like, how do we learn now? It's like we got these amazing supercomputers in our pockets, these phones, and we're learning all the time. We're listening to podcasts, we're watching YouTube, and it's about that bite-sized, just-in-time learning approach. And with e-learning, you can implement what's called active learning, and that's a lot of what we do in a classroom as well is active learning. It's like we talk about things, we ask questions, we get feedback. E-learning, you can do the same thing. And what I like to do is split it up where it's not just answering a true or false question or, you know, multiple choice question, but it might be a new product. Or I work in the medical device field, so I might have like a heart up and say, okay, I'll have a puzzle in this e-learning program to say label the parts of the heart. And so it's very active learning. Active learning, though, is check in your answer right then and you get a response. Because how do we learn? We learn when we fail. You know, it's like we got to fail our way to success. And so whenever you get those problems wrong and you check your answer, you can see right then it's like, oh, that's what it was. And then you remember. I think the method that doesn't work is if you read through something like, to me, telling isn't training, or just read through a PDF and say, read through all this stuff on this product and we're going to give you a test, and then you never see what you got wrong or what you got right. There's no learning that has probably taken place. Yeah. And so to me, it's very active, very engaged, and that's where you're going to get the most. But it also has to be short, simple, and to the point. And I find active learning using training videos, which does take a bit of investment. You can get somebody upskilled to make training videos quite easily, having them short and sweet, you know, have the right music in there and things like that. We learn very quickly by watching. We see it and we remember it. But then we do it, and that's the other part of the blended learning approach, is actually putting into practice, doing those role plays, doing those presentations, and ensuring from a sales manager perspective, what we want to look at, is there an observable, measurable behavior change? And that's what we want to ultimately look at for measuring training.
Okay, so over the next 12 months, this show will be listened to, watched, or read about 250,000 times. And about 75,000 of those times will be from the small business community. And these are companies that are somewhere between 100 and 500 employees. And when they hear classroom training, coaching, online, e-learning, active learning, certification, sales academy, they throw their hands up and they're like, holy cow, how am I going to get all this done? So then they turn to outsourced providers and they think about outsourcing curriculum design, content development, and actual faculty, facilitation. And this is an ongoing debate within this industry. Should you outsource those things or not? So what is your opinion regarding outsourcing?
Well, in a previous role, I didn't have the option to outsource. And so it was taking a small team of A players and just getting the job done. And it takes time to develop these things, but also prioritizing what are the direct business needs. And that's why it's so important starting off being aligned with the corporate strategy. What are we trying to achieve here? What's going to give us the biggest return the soonest on things? It's like, hey, we're strong in product knowledge, we're weak in sales practices. Why don't we bring that on board, do some behavior changing, and get these guys upskilled? When it comes to developing content, things like that, my current organization, I am looking to farm some of that out. So a lot of that comes in through the needs assessment, doing that now in various things with marketing and so forth, exploring like when we're bringing this new product to market. And also a big part of our business is through distributors internationally. What does that distributor journey look like for onboarding them? And we don't have the bandwidth to put together all of this training material, but we do know what we can do, and the rest of it we're trying to farm out a bit. And so there can be pushback when it comes to budgeting for training costs, but to me, the cost of ignorance far exceeds any investment in training and development that you're ever going to see in an organization. To me, it's our staff, our team is worth it. It's like if we want to hit our number, we have to invest in growing. My title is Chief Business Development Officer with developing the company. It's like, where does that start? Developing our people. So I'm very passionate about developing leaders, developing our sales team constantly, continuously, because that's how the company is going to grow. We keep doing the same thing we're doing every single day. We're embracing the status quo. We're never going to get anywhere.
So people that argue for outsourcing say, hey, we don't have the content production capability. I mean, we're sitting here in SBI studio. Not a lot of people have a facility like this, so how can I really produce this type of content? So they say, let's outsource it. The people that argue against outsourcing say, production value is less important. What's most important is the actual meat of the content. That can't be outsourced because no outsourced provider is ever going to know our customers, our product, our competitors, et cetera, as well as we do. So, those two things both of them are valid, right? So in the end, if you had a gun pointed at your head and you were going to outsource or not outsource, what would you do?
I would do it internally.
You would?
Yeah, because the subject matter experts are within your organization. Unless you can partner with an organization, my former organization, I can partner with them, have a lot of trust and confidence in their capabilities, but not everybody has that. And because when it comes down to it, who's going to know your products and your customers the best is you are. And so doing that internally, you're going to get the best return and the best quality product. You might be able to partner with somebody to maybe help develop something into a more engaging delivery. Even working on a sales deck, a PowerPoint presentation. It's like there's companies that can help you really make that give you that wow factor that you may not be able to, but you're going to have to ultimately help them with all of the content.
Right. All right, I'm going to ask a bonus question.
Okay.
And I'm curious to get your answer here. So in your opinion, 10 years from now, what does the role of sales enablement look like? I mean, where is all this headed?
Well, I think the ultimate goal of anybody who is in charge of sales enablement or a learning officer is if we implement a true culture of learning, there's going to be no need for that particular person in charge of things. That would be the ultimate goal, is to phase yourself out. Eliminate it. Yeah, to make it to where everybody is constantly learning. It's like we have these things developed, but we are so immersed in learning and getting better that we possibly don't even need that particular person in charge of it. But sales enablement, in the next 10 years, say that doesn't happen, I think it's going to continue to play a crucial role in the future of every organization because we have to be able to prepare our sales team to kind of go into battle and who else is going to do that? Sales managers are busy, leading and managing their teams. The sales reps, if they're not out in front of customers, and we can't have them developing this stuff, obviously. Somebody has to do it. I believe, it's something that every organization you need to budget for and account for. If you want to grow your business, you need to look at budgeting and planning for a sales enablement team, a learning officer, training and development department that can help you to take you to the next level.
And do you think, because you were a chief learning officer before you went into sales enablement, do you think L&D should be separate from sales enablement, or should they be in the same department?
I think they could work. They could work hand in hand together. Yeah, they could be. Yep.
Okay, great.
Yep. But the biggest thing I think is that alignment with the sales team. It's like you got to have those close relationships.
Yeah.
And it's not one of these things that we just lob it over the fence, lob the training over, and hope it sticks. It's like you got to take them along for the ride and get their input along the way to make sure that this is the training that is going to really help us to take things to the next level.
And what do you say to the CEO that says, what do I need sales enablement for? I've got sales managers. They should be doing this.
That's a good question. What would I say to a CEO who says that? I'd have to say, you got to give it a try. It's what's it going to hurt to actually invest in some of these tools? Talk to your staff. Ask them. I've asked my teams. I used to ask my teams all the time, what is it that we can do to support you better? And every time it's, we need battle cards, we need competitive matrix, we need better slide decks, we need better presentation skills, we need more marketing brochures, better cut sheets, things like that. We need a checklist of like how to kind of walk through to identify the ideal customer, things like that. So these the sales reps are requesting this all the time, and so I think the CEO, I would recommend, listen to your staff, listen to what they need and provide the support. That's where we're there as far as leaders, is to support and equip our team.
Yeah. All right, very good. Melissa, Jeff was great, wasn't he?
I mean, I'm all riled up here. We're talking about battle and pointing guns at someone's head. I mean, to a former Marine. I mean, I'd rather go to battle with a former Marine than Jeff here.
So if I'm listening, potentially even if I'm a first-time listener or I'm watching and I want to get access to more great guests like Jeff, what do I do?
You will go to salesbenchmarkindex.com/register. There you can pick and choose the topics of interest to you and when you want to receive content. So you don't have to, we don't bombard you. You choose when you want to receive your content.
So by doing that, I create an account?
Correct. You will go and create an account and you'll select your topics of interest and when you want to receive them.
Right. So I like to call that the logged in experience. So for those that are listening, you probably have a social media account, maybe it's LinkedIn or Facebook. And when you're logged into that account, you have a certain experience. Your feed reflects you. When you're not logged in, you have a different experience, a little bit more generic, and it doesn't reflect you. It's a very similar concept here at SBI. If you create an account, we call it the My SBI account, you can tell us a little bit about yourself, so we make sure that we're sending you the things that are most relevant to you, and you can really customize that experience. So we encourage you all to do that. Jeff, that's it. That was a great demonstration. You really added to our body of knowledge. So on behalf of the audience, I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Greg.
All right, great. All right, team, and everybody listening, that's it for today. As always, I want to thank you for your continued support. The show keeps doing really well, and because of that, we're able to attract great guests like Jeff. So if you're listening, keep listening, tell everybody about it, and hopefully we'll keep going here with this momentum. As always, until next time, I wish you good luck as you try and make your number.